here on episode 33. We're your hosts, Tyler, Brian, and Andrew. And we're here to break down tips and strategies you need to excel in endurance sports. Today, we're diving into dealing with setbacks in training. If you ever felt frustrated by injuries, illness, or just life getting in the way, this episode is for you. Listen up.
Yeah, I'm very excited for this episode because setbacks are something that every athlete faces. No matter who you are at the top of the sport or just getting into it, something's going to stand in your way, whether it's, pulling a calf muscle 3 weeks out from a race, a rolled ankle. There are things that are going to come up that will completely alienate your goal and throw your plan right out the window. So we're going to talk about how I've navigated and how you each have navigated some of the setbacks that you've faced in your training. So yeah, let's look at what we got.
Yeah, this episode comes at a very funny time for me because I have just faced one of these setbacks. So it's very topical, and dealing with this and kind of trying to manage this, especially right now, mid of winter. It's definitely a time when these setbacks seem to pop up more often than not. So today we're just going to kind of round table, go through a few different types of setbacks and how we've dealt with them. So I will kick this off, and because it's winter and the setback that kind of inspired this episode of why I was thinking about it so much, and that is illness. I feel like this for endurance athletes is pretty big. We're pushing our bodies super hard. It's winter right now, so it's flu season. And unfortunately, I got hit with the flu and was out for about a week. And the throat and cough is still there. I'm still hacking up a lung every time I go running, but we're dealing with it.
Yeah, it's wild. It's always in the back of my head. I always, literally fear it. Oh God, am I getting sick? Oh God, do I feel an injury? But, the sickness, especially in the winter, you're just, if for me, I don't know about you guys, but it's always just lingering there. Oh, am I gonna get sick going out on this run? Crazy.
Yeah, and sickness is one of those things that everybody's going to get it, whether you're training or not, but especially for endurance athletes, it can put you on the sidelines for longer than you might like. And like you said, Andrew, you're worn down from your training, which is the toughest part. Because not only, are you susceptible to all the illnesses that are going around in the office or just family life, whatever, but then you're also just zonked out from training. And sometimes in those places where you're overtraining, it just happens. You can't avoid the sickness. And yeah, oftentimes athletes are motivated to always train through the pain, train through the illness, but that's not always the smartest thing to do. There's situations where you can keep training, and then there's definitely times where you got to take a step back for your greater health and so that you can bounce back strong.
Yeah, and in my case, it was one of those, I think generally it's head colds, like what I have still right now. This is something that I know I can run through and I kind of won't get worse. My training can still kind of progress. I can still do decently hard workouts, but it's when it's in the body, which was the case for me, where I had a fever, I had the chills where I was going between hot and cold, that I knew I just had to take a complete step back. And I ended up cutting a whole week of training where I just did absolutely nothing. I just focused on recovery, focused on getting better, getting lots of sleep. So that was pretty nice. Trying to manage how much I ate and not eat like I normally would when I'm doing 70, 80 miles. So I think that honestly might have been the hardest part for me, because my body definitely did not want to run. So that was the easy thing to cut.
Yeah, fair. It's important to listen to your body, but you're totally right. You're normally in a state where it's just consume all the calories because you're burning so much. But if you go on a stint of 7 to 10 days without exercising, your stomach doesn't have the chance to adjust back to normal human, let's say, output. So you can just bulk on the pounds even though you're sick, which is wild. I find the same thing traveling. If you don't do the same amount of exercise, but you're just golfing down the calories, same sort of thing. Yeah, what other one thing that's popped up, and I don't know if you guys are experiencing this, but a lot of people getting injured also, or like managing injury. I think illness is one thing, but injury is something that's very specific to athletes as well. Have you been hearing about athletes with a lot of injuries, Ty?
Couple injuries. It's spooky, that's for sure. I know on my Strava I have a few people in the feed just like, nursing a bad hip or a bad knee, just something lingering there that doesn't seem to go away. And that obviously affects your training volume and your training quality. You'll see, they try to go out on, let's say, walks or easier workouts, but you still can't get that training program prescribed mileage in. So it's tough on that front too, and I think a lot of it goes to the mental. It's like, hey, I didn't reach this type of mileage. I didn't do this type of this many hours this week, so it kind of gets to you, and that nagging injury that just doesn't want to go away. You could keep trying to help it with your physio and your functional fitness and strengthening everything, but at the end of the day, all you want to do, I find, I don't know about you guys, but for me, it's like I just want to hit those numbers, and it doesn't matter what else is there, which is kind of a bad mindset, but I think a lot of people just look at those numbers, even though they're injured.
And that's the thing, right? It's a trap because you've set yourself up for this plan. You have the idea of what success looks like, and these setbacks get in your way. So injuries, illness, of course, those are going to happen. But some other things that we can also consider setbacks, despite them just being a part of life, are things like work stress, family obligations, family stress, whatever it might be, travel. And then even myself, like in the last month, I moved. And that took a huge chunk of time, energy away from the bike, away from running. I tried my hardest to keep on plan, but there was a week where, I didn't follow everything to plan. But that's okay because it's about, always bouncing back and having that consistency over the long term.
To keep up with your mileage, so I was fired up. I was like, yes, I finally had the same mileage as you that week. And then I'm like, oh, rip, he moved. I just realized.
Yeah, and now we're back on the train. It's just 200K a week, whether it's on the bike or running, automatic. It's nice.
Yeah, one big reason why I love 18-week training blocks is because it does give you that like wiggle room for some flexibility, like where I had that week off and I don't really need to worry about it too much. In the summer, I have a planned week off for canoe trips. So it kind of gives you a little bit of wiggle room where you're putting in such a big block of work that in the grand scheme of things, it will just kind of smooth itself over, the stressing over these things is not worth it. And don't try to start stacking those hard workouts after. I know we were joking earlier this week after I was kind of getting back that maybe we should just plan sick weeks or induce sickness to help us actually absorb some of this training we're doing, because honestly it is pretty nice. It gives you that nice rest and recovery week.
Forced too, yeah. It's like, hey, let's get this done, get it over with, and then back on the train, and your legs are fresh, recovered, but you got that head cold still. So
Yeah. So all of these setbacks, no matter what it is, they're very, very frustrating. And that frustration can kind of be categorized in a couple different things. I'll touch on one and maybe you guys can chime in with some other reasons. So for me, one of the biggest things is kind of that feel of regression. So you've worked so hard, you're padding those stats on Strava, you got that nice curve, and boom, all of a sudden, all of that fitness you've been building, 1, 2 weeks where you're not hitting that volume, and it's like, uh-oh, I'm back to where I was like a month ago, 2 months ago, in terms of like regressing back. And that's tough because you're worrying about losing your fitness and not meeting those event goals because something's come up in your way. And that's something that is very, very frustrating and scary as well. What are some other things that frustrate you about setbacks?
I mean, yeah, I know one of the biggest thing of setbacks. I also love my Strava stats, but what I like even more is I have a physical calendar right to my right on my setup that I come through the door, and after every run I do a physical X on the workout. So I cross those workouts, and I want to see that band of X's at the end of the week. So not seeing that X, or like I look over and it's just staring at me that week that has 0 X's, and you just get reminded like, oh, if I would have hit that, it would have been pretty nice. And then January could have been perfect because before that it was going so well. So I'm excited to flip. The nice thing about this system is when I flip the page to February, that missing week will be hidden from me. So I'm looking forward to that.
That's like getting spooked by the gains goblin right there.
That's it. Yeah, you're right. I do the same thing. I put in my workout of the week, and then at the end I put how many hours I got for the end of the week, and I always gotta keep that number rising. You don't want to lower that number, so it's big on the mental game for sure. Same goes with me. Like for me, it's like a big thing about just the mentality and like dealing with those setbacks and coming back stronger is a big thing for me. It's just like that bounce back, because it's just as easy. Like I talked about this a while back with some friends. Like you're on that fence, it's just as easy to stay on that other side and not do anything for another week or two, but you just make that decision to hop over to the other side, let's call it the dark side, and keep grinding and keep getting it going. So that's a big deal for me.
Yeah, and let's face it, all of us have high personal expectations for our training, for the events that we're doing, for the times we want to hit. And the higher your expectations are of yourself, if you're, have this sense of you're not just content with your current fitness, those setbacks strike a lot harder, right? But that also means that you need to be regimented and have good strategies of handling those setbacks. So let's dive in on the first and I think biggest category for endurance athletes, which is typically injury management. So what are some keys to injury management?
My favorite is find a physio. If something comes up, find a physio that you like, you trust. Shop, same like anything else, like your other bills or things like that, your insurance. Shop around, find someone that clicks, that you like, that is just super knowledgeable and helps sort you out and keeps you doing the activity you love doing. And be super proactive about if you have little niggles or something just doesn't quite feel right, pop in to see your physio, and that can at least give you some peace of mind, or highlight some areas where you might want to start strengthening before a small little niggle and weakness might actually become an injury. I know for me, post my very dumb 100-kilometer week, I was having some pain right around my ankle, kind of down to the bottom of my foot to my ankle, that I was kind of like, could this be plantar fasciitis potentially, or like the beginning of it? And I went to my physio, and I could run. There wasn't really any intense pain, but I went, he gave me some exercises, we chatted about it. I freaked him out a little bit with what I did in December. So that's always fun. That's kind of my goal with these things. But got some exercises, wasn't anything serious, but it kind of gave me some peace of mind and felt like I was doing something to, next December, I can maybe not have this pain when I do something dumb again.
Yeah, that's a good point. I just thought of it. We should start a segment, freak out the physio. I love freaking him out so much. It's nice.
Yeah, 100%. So then to kind of highlight some of those key points for injury management, one, early detection and continuous monitoring. You've got to listen to your body, find those signs of early pain and treat those minor discomforts. Be proactive with that. Seek professional help. And then I think it was actually one of your hot, or not hot take, but a quick tip that you had, which was after exercise, do some active recovery and sprinkle those in. And then lastly, yeah, actually follow your physio's advice. Spooking them is one thing, but they're always going to give you some training and that sort of thing. And it's hard to always put that into your routine, but it is important for that injury management.
I did not follow the physio's recommendations last spring. Let's just roll over that. The thing we could talk about is managing that setback for illness. That's a big thing. I know winter, like we're saying, winter always has to roll around, and we'll all get it. We're all gonna get sick at least once during the one of our blocks. So let's chat about how to bounce back after that.
Yeah, I've got two keys. One is a nice little, I don't know if it's a rhyme or a riddle, whatever it is, but below the neck, that's when you need the rest. Like if it's just a head cold, you can go. But if it's, chest congestion and you're really worn down, very serious, take the day off, take a few days off until you start bouncing back, because you're already in a state of being worn down. If you keep exercising, it's just going to prolong that, and you're not making fitness gains in that period. And then the second thing is easing back in. When you're off because you're sick, it doesn't mean you go right back to 100. It means a few tester workouts. Make sure that you're feeling good before you dive in to a 33K long run. So I think those are two keys for me, anyways.
Was that directed at me? How long did I run today?
I think you went out with 33K long run.
Oh, okay. I was like, I did 20 miles. I don't know.
Freaking mile,
33K. I was like, I'm pretty sure that's towards me, but I had to do the math. So the thing is, it worked out really nicely because this week I had no workouts. I had one hill sprint, hill sprints. That's not really a workout, it's a fake workout. And then
it's a hot take.
Like general aerobic stuff. So it was no like crazy intensity. So yeah.
I agree. I think general aerobic is the place you start. But workout number one after a sickness being like threshold or VO2 max, no purpose. Ease in.
Oh, 100%. If I had workouts planned for this week, they would have gotten switched to GAs for sure. Yeah, I'm not that silly.
I love the quick switcheroo to the GA. That's my classic go-to. I do that even when I'm not sick, so it's real nice.
You're totally right. That's just any week. It's just GA. It makes you very comfy. I think the last thing on being sick is just be patient. You can't rush a sickness. It's gonna take its time. And you just need to let it run its course and then come back with a vengeance, but ease into it still.
And I have another point here, and this brings me back to the BIM 5K. When we had a sick man who was not a runner, but decided he wanted to come spectate the BIM 5K. If you are sick and you have endurance friends or family, stay away. You have the plague. Don't go disrupting their training plan.
Big agree. That's a big agree for me. That's a like button right there.
100%. The COVID pandemic was a lot. We can agree on that. But one good thing that came out of that was the responsibility to wear a mask and social distance, and that's top of mind. So I think, reinforcing that. If you're sick and you have endurance friends, either wear a mask or keep your distance or just away entirely, because it can be frustrating when you're a month or two out from a huge event that you've been planning your whole year around, and there's some irresponsibility on certain people's part.
I get real spooked coming up to a race that you pay, let's say, thousands of dollars for, and there's these papegas that are just sick around you, just hanging out with you. It's just the worst feeling ever. You're like, what is going on here? It's brutal.
Yeah, it reminds me of Frank Reynolds from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where he's just coating himself in Purell, and he's like, I just want to be pure. That's literally the mentality 2 weeks away from race day.
Get your bubble suits out, Purell, and you're good to go. Just hide from the world.
Stuff at work, I don't even care. Masked up, I'm like, you're not getting me sick today.
Also, okay, so we've talked injury, we've talked sickness. I think that other big category was more life disruptions, whether that's travel, schedule, family. So what are some creative ways that you would stay active or adapt your plan towards that?
I think the biggest one is if events come up, things that are obviously more important than your training plan, is just be.
Tyler heard that and thought that was a hot take in itself.
Okay, so we might chat about that later and dig into that a bit. But I would say just be super flexible. If you can get a run in or an activity in and you can squeeze it in, but just something short, get your body moving. I think that is great. So you can still kind of check the day of like, I did a small activity. Don't stress too much about that workout or the distance. And then also don't then try to cram it into later in your week, because that's always going to wreak havoc.
Isn't that how Tyler's training plan works? It's all weekend warrior, man.
I was gonna
I,
say Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's where you get all your work in.
I do have, for chat time, I have a very big comment about your training plan that I'm very curious, but we'll save that for later too.
Frig, Coach Mike might have your neck, Andrew.
Frig, what training plan?
Oh, jeez.
To give me the answer.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, the yeah, on travel, I agree. Be flexible, and if you can, yeah, squeeze in your workout. If you can't, and I think it also is like planning ahead. Like you know what weddings are coming this summer, that sort of thing. Like you know you're not going to get that quality long run on the evening on a Saturday when there's supposed to be a wedding. You just got to do it the morning of. Easy.
Easy peasy. That's what you do the day of the wedding, the morning. It's nice.
Yeah, I think the planning, when I'm scheduling my training plan, you always have to have training calendar, life calendar right in front of you, so that as you're just stacking those weeks together, you're not just completely ignoring that life calendar. If you know you have a few events, you can sometimes be super smart about like, I want to swap my normal workout weeks that day and kind of stack a few like recovery days or shorter workouts when you know you have activities, so you're not setting yourself up for failure, and you're actually like able to hit those workouts and not just be like, oops, it's a GA, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, now that I think of it, when I was designing my run plan for this, I made sure to consult like what the weekly habits we had between the rascal and I, to make sure that like one, our training schedules sort of aligned on certain days so we could do the activity at the same time. Or for example, when she was taking a spin class, I had some time to maybe do a workout that's a little bit faster than her pace, for example.
Hit the family with the Uno reverse this year. And I gave them my training schedule, my race schedule, and said, plan family events around this, and it actually worked. So that's also a very good option.
That's five head. That's really, really smart.
That was a big brain move. I literally sent everyone the training, my race schedule. I said I have races this weekend, this week, like all these weekends, and I'm like, plan ahead, go ahead, and it's worked so far. I got a couple weddings I gotta go to. Totally avoided the races, so it's nice.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't schedule my wedding for an Ironman weekend, or else you wouldn't have been in attendance.
You know, it would have been poubelle right there.
I think maybe the biggest tip here though is, why not just merge the two together and just convince all your family and friends to get into endurance sport, and then life and training is just the same thing.
Don't tell them the plan. Don't tell them the plan.
You got to cut that out.
Hilarious. Okay, so that covers kind of like the strategies that you deal with to handle these setbacks. But all of this requires some sort of mental game as well. For me, one of the big plays that I've had that really helps me with all of this is just framing these setbacks as part of the process. So just understanding that the plan that you have, to a certain extent, is going to get thrown out the window, and it's about the long haul. What are some of the strategies that you guys employ on the mental side just to kind of keep going and stick to the broader plan?
A big one for me is learning from those setbacks and trying to move on and get stronger. Like, I remember from last spring, with that rolled ankle, what was it, 2 weeks out of the marathon, that I still ended up running, which might have been something I shouldn't have done. You learn from that. I could have came back stronger. The exercises that you do to rehab from those injuries also stay with you, and you could do them as preventative measures after. And my let's just say my ankles have never been stronger. So now got to watch the ankle, knock on wood, but those ankle muscles and all those stability muscles and the core have been working ever since that first injury, and you realistically just come back stronger and try not to re-injure that same area.
I think my favorite one, and one of the main reasons why I end up taking so much time off between my blocks is that the climb back into fitness I find is the funnest thing. And if you're playing the long game, the climbs get shorter and shorter, and it starts clicking quicker and quicker, and you can get back into that fitness much quicker than the last time, and you don't just like lose it and need to work just as hard to get it back as last time. So I think that's pretty cool to see. And those workouts where it finally is clicking and you're not absolutely dying it's a good feeling.
Yeah, that is a super good feeling. I haven't really, maybe it's just the point I am in my journey, but haven't had those like huge down weeks or down months like you do. Maybe part of that is two separate sports that I can kind of balance the volume between, but I generally will use like a true vacation as a true vacation. And like there's been periods where I have not done a single kilometer of running, for example, for a week or two, which is really, really nice and gets you like totally mentally refreshed so that you're actually like wanting to do more. And I think that's also like a key mental part of this sport is every so often you want to have that desire to go further rather than just like forcing yourself because you've written it on a calendar.
That is a good point. And sometimes you go out there and when you don't want to and you say like, why am I doing this? But it's for that longer game and the longer mental game of it all. Like, and then, you know, those times that you can't get yourself to do a workout, you're just thinking about those other goals and those other times that you'll be able to do it later. So
Yeah, and you mentioned something there, Tyler. Your goals. I think it's all about kind of staying connected in the long run to those goals, but also adjusting and being flexible to what those are instead of just abandoning them entirely. If you really have a huge setback, because we've been talking about stuff that kind of affects you week to week, but there are setbacks that can set you back a year plus on your training. And I think that's where you really need to have the mental fortitude to kind of stay in this growth mindset that endurance sports kind of requires.
that is very true. Like, you know, those, we don't wish that upon anyone, but those injuries that take, you know, over a year to get better and to get back on where you previously were, those are the times where you need that most mental toughness. So yeah, that's a very good point. We're ready for chat time, and I heard someone has a hot take.
Oh, I do. And this is definitely inspired by my run today. And this is a stance that I've had since the beginning of this podcast. I've expressed it, but the hot take is that winter, it causing some setbacks, winter is the peak outdoor endurance season. The end. And I stand firmly in that camp.
No,
I gotta battle this one for one reason, and that's the cycling. Cycling outdoors is unmatched in terms of the quality that brings to your life. Not even just for pure fitness, but it's just it's joyous. It's pure bliss being out on the roads with the boys. So I disagree, although I 100% agree for running.
Get back to, I also disagree for running. When I was on vacation, I had that like glimpse of, you know, the 30-degree weather on a daily basis, and for me, my training blocks most of my ramp ups are in midsummer, in that midsummer heat. So that like summer heat kind of clicks something on into my brain, and that it just gives me the most gains. You know, you get heat acclimatized, you get fired up, you got all the sweating going on and the sun, the tan lines. It's nice.
I agree with you. Summer is for the fitness building with the heat, but the winter is where the mental gains are at and what makes the end of races easier. But
True.
The real reason why I have this position is today on my run, first occurrence, I was running along the Martin Goodman Trail, and in the corner of my eye, I see this old man, shirtless, in shorts, shoes, and he had, like in the summer, a t-shirt tucked into his shorts. So either he did that at home and was like, I'm going to be a freak, or during the run, he made a decision that was like, it's not cold enough out here. On Wednesday, it was way colder. I'm hot. I'm sweating. So that's instance one. And then maybe 5K down the trail, I see another man running and like looked like a nice casual run, like, but his stride was a little strange. And as I got close to him, he had a resistance band around his like lower thighs and was just out there running with a resistance band, just out for his GA run. So the reason why I think winter running is the best is because it brings the freaks out and I'm here for it.
I agree. Big time winter running, and I think we talked about this in previous podcasts, is exactly that. It's not for the faint of heart. It's only for the serious athletes.
That is true. That is
Yeah.
true. I'll give that to winter running. It is only for the freaks. It has to be freak approved.
And for context, this shirtless man, it's not hot here yet. It is hovering around zero. Maybe it was like -1 or 2 today.
And
Spring,
like
that's a summer day.
with the wind along the lake, like it was not warm. It was probably like real feel of -10. But compared to this past week, it was pretty warm.
Beach weather. The other
And no chafing. No
True,
nipple
no
chafing.
chafing. The other thing that I really appreciate about winter running is those slushy days where there's snow on the road and it's tough, really build up the ankle stability and that strengthening. The Rascal and I just yesterday went out for big hill runs, and most of our run there was snow on the ground. It was kind of that like sandy snow on the streets, and let me tell you, I can feel it in the lower body. All those stabilizers and pushing up those hills, that's going to pay dividends for the season ahead.
Big agree. I had that today too. That's a reason why I only did 17, was just like I couldn't deal with the slush and the granular snow for much longer than that. So it builds up that toughness, and the lower body will thank you for that later.
See, you guys are turning around.
I got to give that a Uno reverse. That's an agree at the end of it.
The trails empty out a little bit. It's only the freaks out there. It's kind of nice. The other thing that I really like, and it takes me about 2 weeks to perfect, but the lack of like crazy sweating and overheating, the free air conditioning is appreciated.
For sure. But I do have a complaint. My hands get so friggin' cold all winter, and that's like something that I really can't balance. I love when it's like maybe -5 to 5 degrees where I can just throw on like a light pair of gloves and that's pretty good. But even yesterday, it wasn't super cold, but my hands were just frozen. I'm fiddling with my key at the end of my run trying to get it in. The Google camera catches me and I'm like I almost put my mouth on it to turn the key around to unlock the door just because I couldn't use my hands at the end of the run. And I had some thicker gloves.
Frig, you look like, I just picture that. Remember the video I took you eating the burger at the Chio ride? That's literally what you were doing. Just like,
Yeah, just fiddling with the key like my precious. And I just, yeah, it's a struggle. So for me, the one gripe I have with the winter season is the chilly hands.
that's true, and the ears. But we got those office hands, so it's maybe a lot of those people don't have the same issue.
It's certainly not that freak Andrew saw shirtless on the trails. He doesn't have any of those problems.
Oh no, no shirt, no gloves,
No problem,
hat.
baby.
It was nice, and he had a nice tan too. He's doing it right.
I love it. The one other thing that I just want to highlight is a freaky ride that Charlie did. I don't know if you guys saw this, but he did, I think it was 100K up north. He's in North Ontario.
125, yeah.
125K through the wilderness on a fat bike with a crew, I think. That is, I think, an experience cycling that I'd still like to get, is the winter cycles like that. It's not something I've ever tried, but it looks fun and it looks tough.
A bit of background on that, actually. It was an ice road, so it was from one point to another, and it was like this, well-known ice road in that community, way up north, like up by James Bay. Like, it was crazy, and it was something like 8.5 hour ride time, and obviously a little bit longer with the stops and all that, but it was, a community ride. He went up there, flew up there with work, and stayed with the community on the fat bike and just ripped around. That's just wild. I can't wait to hear his story on it.
Yeah, he's already gearing up to get some BIM awards for next year, it sounds like.
Oh, that's what he's telling me. He says he's doing all this to get on the BIM Awards and get an interview. He says that's his one goal of 2025, get a friggin' interview with the BIM boys.
I love it. As long as all of those community members that were in those photos, those Northern Ontarians, they joined the BIM squad, he can definitely have an interview.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so I heard through the grapevine that not only do you have a hot take, Andrew, but you've also got a nice game for us to play. I think the first of the kind for the BIM pod. I'm very excited.
Oh yeah, we got a nice game, and we're gonna do some blind rankings of a specific category. So Brian, this one is gonna be for you. You're gonna kick us off. So you're gonna rank post-workout beverages without knowing what comes next. Number one is chocolate milk,
Whew,
and it's out of five.
okay, out of five. I absolutely adore chocolate milk, but I want to make sure that I leave something for the 1 and 2 slot, so I'm going number 3 for chocolate milk.
That's
Okay,
risky. Wow.
solid position. Number two is a can of Coke.
Can of Coke post ride, so good, but not great for post workout always. Very good for intra workout. So we're gonna go number 4, can of Coke.
Solid spot. Solid spot. Number three, an Americano to warm you up.
Oh man, now see again, great intra,
Intra
but
ride, yeah.
and it's sometimes tough to run with an Americano in you, but it's my drink of choice. Love it on the cycling. We're going number 2 with the Americano.
You're leaving some room first and last now.
First and last. That's spooky.
All right, next up, this one's quite the treat. A Reese's McFlurry, or a Reese's Blizzard, sorry.
Reese's Blizzard, absolutely delicious. I devour it, but it's going number 5 slot. I'm risking it for number 1. I think we're gonna get a beer or a protein shake. That's what I'm putting my chips on.
Risky. That's risky.
Putting it all up to this last one, and the last one is a protein shake.
Boom, boom, boom. That's a
Winner.
perfect list. Perfect list. I love it.
Winner chicken dinner.
You held out. I was really hoping that the Blizzard was going to throw you off and you were going to put the protein shake right to the poubelle.
I couldn't. You know, protein shake is my post-workout drink nearly every time I exercise, so I'm glad it got that top spot. I'm glad I risked it.
You're right. You taught me this. I've been ripping protein shakes for the past 6 months now, and it's amazing.
Love it. Yeah, that was pretty fun. Great list. But before we can fully close it off, I did say I had some questions for you, Tyler. And I think we need to dig into them a little bit before we close.
Oh, I thought I was gonna get left off here.
Oh no, I have questions. So we are 4 weeks. So end of 2024, you got dropped by Coach Mike. So that happened. And now we are 4 weeks into January. And we also talked about the best way for you to improve your Ironman would be for you to double down and focus on running. We are 4 weeks into January. You have 52 miles logged of running, which is an average of 13 miles a week. Is this what you call doubling down on your running training?
Oh, we're doubling down. I feel like this is an attack, first of all. I feel like this is an attack. He was ready for this. That's
I fully said I was coming in hot.
He's got the friggin' stat sheet at you. What's crazy is one of my goals for this year was to do less running than last year, and I'm doing more running than you. What the heck?
Hey, I'm avoiding injury, I'm staying refreshed, and I'm staying recovered. That's my number one goal, is to avoid injury.
Oh, no injury on this guy.
Hey, you won't see one injury on this guy. I don't run enough, so it's real nice. It's real nice.
So, just to follow up to Andrew's kind of investigation here, are you to plan right now? Would you say you're to plan?
Yes, I am to plan, because right now I do not have a training plan start until February 20th. An actual workout by workout until February 20th. So right now, I am a man of the night. I do whatever I feel like doing, and I'm still keeping up overall volume around 8 to 10 hours a week, which is still pretty decent, but I play hockey a couple times a week. Biking is my majority of my workouts because I hate running outside, and I realized that into January. So yeah, I'm avoiding the run like it's the plague. I don't know how that's going to be later on in the season, but I got plenty of miles to catch up on, and I'm okay with that.
Nice. Well, I'm happy that your 8-month training block wasn't a crazy go hard the whole time training block. So that is good. You might be cutting it a little close for Around the Bay though. Starting February 20th, but love to see it.
You saw my long run today. I went out, so I go once a week. Weekend warrior once a week. Just dust off the shoes a little bit and go out, and it's real nice. I just make sure I know how to run still, and then we pack it in for the next week. So.
I'm just excited because this sounds like you're becoming a little bit more of a cyclist, less of a runner. So I'm excited to have you in the peloton, giving Mark and I some good pulls towards the finish line.
Well, that's the other problem, is I have to keep up with you two freaks, or else I'm going to be in the C group if I continue to stay if I don't stay on the saddle. So yeah, I'm trying to increase that FTP. I think it'll pay dividends on the legs for the later miles in the bike and during the run, and you can always walk the marathon like I always do, so it's not a big deal.
I love it. Nothing like a stroll in the park, 42K stroll.
Good question though.
I mean, I was doing some Strava analysis, and I mean, during my off sick week, I had lots of time, and there was just a few things that were just a little bit off that I needed to ask about.
Just tickling your brain. You were staying up at night. You're like, what the heck is this man doing? But you're looking at miles here. Put that into kilometers, and that's a lot of kilometers. That's my key to success. I put it into meters, actually.
Start getting up in those thousands. You're doing thousands of meters of volume. It's crazy. Oh, that's awesome. Okay, well, I think this is a good place to stop. I think this is a warning to the community. Andy is diving into the data. He's gonna track you down. He's like the spooky endurance claws, and he's checking his list. So yeah,
and he's out to get you.
Don't you get it twisted, because I'm gonna start calling you out. I'm gonna start calling you out on Strava.
Yes, he's out to get you, and you better watch out, or else you'll get called out on the pod at the end of the episode. Thanks for joining, guys. Thanks for tuning into today's podcast. Setbacks are parts of everybody's journey, and we're here today to help you get through those setbacks.
Heck yeah. So don't forget, follow us on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, join our Strava club, share the podcast with a friend, and yeah, we will see you soon enough.
And just the weekly reminder that we are absolutely not medical professionals, but we are professional Strava detectives, so watch out. And the advice and tips that we share is based on our experience and research, and always consult with a healthcare provider before making significant changes to your exercise routine.
Keep moving and grooving. Get out on that run, or else Andy will get real freaked out, and we'll see you next time, boys.